Rainbow Reflections, Book 2, Put Out the Fire, Chapter 16, The Show Must Go On. Hyakdu was glad to be sending students home on the Sunday following the moonlight dance. After hearing Mimita had made a second appearance, he had searched the forest himself, despite the raging blizzard, but he had found nothing. Once ensuring the students' parents picked up their children for the winter break, Hyakdu went to the healing room to check on Sarala. He found her lying asleep on one of the beds in the center of the room, covered in fuzzy blankets. She still appeared to be in her summer dress from the previous night, though the makeup had been wiped off her face. To Hyaktu's surprise, Ren was sitting on the bed next to Sarala, dark circles under her eyes and her chin resting on her palm. "Hi, Dad," Ren said in a toneless voice.
"Hey, Ren," he replied. "What are you doing here? Did you not get any sleep last night?"
"No," she stated flatly, keeping her wary gaze on Sarala. "I was too worried to sleep."
"I found nothing outside the school," Hyaktu pointed out.
"I'm not worried about Mimita," Ren murmured. "I mean, I'm worried about her, of course, especially if she is with Kaokat and all, but I'm worried about Sarala."
"Has she been restless even with Fern's potion?"
Hyaktu asked, walking over to sit on the bed beside his daughter. Ren shook her head. "She's been sleeping pleasantly enough, but I'm still worried about her, after how much she freaked out last night." She glanced up into her father's eyes. "What did Mimita do to her?"
Hyaktu frowned. "She clearly hurt Sarala in more ways than one," he uttered. "Sarala wouldn't have panicked so badly if she'd just been dumped on the side of the road. Yes, that's enough to make anyone anxious if they ever saw the person who did that to them again. But there's clearly something else going on here for Sarala to react like that."
Ren bit her bottom lip and returned her gaze to Sarala. Hyaktu watched her for a long moment as silence fell. Finally, Ren murmured, "Sarala took C3 to the dance."
"I saw that," Hyaktu said. "I was surprised she'd gone."
"I didn't think she was going either," Ren said. "When I asked her, it definitely sounded like she wasn't. So I went with Mint. But when I saw her there, I was going to ask her to dance with me, and then she danced with C3 in an attempt to make me jealous." She sighed deeply before continuing. "She eventually kissed him."
"What?" Hyaktu growled. "She cheated on you?"
"Not exactly," Ren muttered. "Is it actually cheating if C3 didn't want any part of that? And Sarala doesn't actually like him, especially if she's only interested in girls? Honestly, I still don't feel jealous like she was trying to make me feel. I just feel hurt that she'd do that."
Hyaktu frowned. "She was trying to make you jealous from the start?"
"Yeah, because I took Min to the dance when I thought she wasn't going with me," she replied.
"And then she kissed C3 to make you feel worse?"
Ren nodded quietly, tears forming in her eyes.
"If I were you, I'd end the relationship,"
Hyaktu stated flatly. Ren snapped her gaze to him. "What? Why?" Hyaktu stared at Ren incredulously for a moment. Then he said,
"She hurt you."
"But that happens in relationships," Ren said. "Nothing and nobody is perfect. You're going to hurt your partner from time to time, or annoy them, or make them angry."
"She hurt you on purpose,"
Hyaktu pointed out. Ren stared at the floor and sighed again. "I guess." She was quiet for a moment, then added, "But she apologized to me. She knew she was in the wrong. Shouldn't I give her another chance?" Hyaktu fingered his mustache, but before he could gather his thoughts, Ren continued. "I mean, when she was having her panic attack, I kinda already told her I'd still date her, that we could just forget all about the dance, so I think we're still together anyway. You know, if she still wants to be with me," she said in a rush, blushing lightly. "I hope she still wants to be with me." Hyaktu placed a hand on her shoulder.
"If you want to give Sarala a second chance, then by all means do so. You're a good person, Ren."
She smiled up at him.
"But I also advise you not to allow her to hurt you like that again,"
Hyaktu went on seriously.
"Once could indeed be a mistake, but doing the same thing twice or thrice, and you'll both be hurting each other by remaining in the relationship. Maybe you two aren't meant to be partners, but friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't let others take advantage of you, okay?
Ren nodded quietly to his words, a frown now on her face. The two sat for a few minutes, neither speaking. After a while, Sorella stirred on the other bed. Hyaktu got to his feet as she turned around to face them.
Are you doing better, Sorella?
Hyaktu asked. Sorella frowned, appearing confused.
I checked outside the school for Mimeta, but I came across nothing,
Hyaktu said, figuring it was best to get straight to the point. Sorella's face darkened and her body tensed as she grasped the blankets firmly.
But I saw her. She was there, right outside the window, staring in at me.
Hyaktu frowned, then glanced at his daughter.
Ren, can you leave us for a moment?
Ren tilted her head to one side, then nodded and got to her feet. She walked out the room to the courtyard. Hyaktu glanced out the window and saw her standing beside the door. He waited a moment, then faced Sorella and lowered his voice.
Sorella, what did Mimeta do to you?
He asked.
I already told you,
Sorella growled, sitting upright and pulling the blankets tightly around her.
She trained me as a blacksmith, then dropped me off in the middle of nowhere and told me to come to the school. She hurt you,
Hyaktu said simply.
How did she hurt you? Did she beat you? Scar you?
Sorella shook her head, frowning.
She didn't hurt me like that too often. She slapped me a few times, but don't all kids get slapped? One time she did hurt my hand, but I don't know, it seemed like an accident at the time. I still don't really know what happened. If all she did was drop you off one day, why did you freak out at seeing her again? What if she had merely regretted leaving you all alone and wanted you back?
Hyaktu pressed. Sorella's shoulders slumped.
What did she do to you, Sorella?
He asked quietly. He didn't think she was going to respond, but after several minutes, Sorella whispered,
She has two personalities. One moment she'd be praising me and telling me that I meant the world to her. The next moment she'd yell at me for no reason, telling me I was good for nothing, insulting me over every little thing. One time I got upset and tried to run away, and she came looking for me. She yelled at me and said I wasn't ever allowed to leave. She ordered me to return to our camp, then wouldn't let me out of her sight for a week. That whole week she treated me like I didn't belong, like I was a traitor. I guess I was a traitor for running away like that.
She sighed heavily, staring at the floor for a long moment. Hyaktu allowed her to gather her thoughts, listening intently to each of her words, watching her body language closely.
She eventually asked me why I'd want to run away, and when I tried to explain that she confused me, she blamed me for her moods. She said it was my fault she had two sides, and I was the one hurting her. After that outburst, she returned to the other personality. She treated me kindly and praised me again, but it didn't feel like real praise. It felt like I was being used. Like she praised me just enough to keep me around. Then, one day, she yelled at me to get an education and make myself useful. She told me to come to the school and threw me on the road.
Sorella shivered and closed her eyes, a tear sliding down her cheek.
I was scared at first. I was hoping she'd come back, despite how confusing she could be. But I realized she wouldn't be coming back this time. She had left me, not the other way around. She didn't need me anymore. So I chose not to need her.
Hyaktu put a hand on her shoulder and she opened her eyes, glancing up at him.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that, he murmured. And I'm more sorry that she's found you here. Did she say or do anything those times you saw her?
Not until last night, Sorella murmured faintly. She was literally against the window, smiling in at me. It felt like... She closed her eyes again. It felt like she was going to take me back.
You said you felt you were being used. What was she using you for?
Hyaktu inquired in a gentle tone.
I don't know, Sorella said earnestly. I felt like she was keeping me around for something.
I made weapons with her, but it's not like she needed me to make weapons for her. I sometimes got us food or supplies from town, but she's done that on her own too. I don't know how to explain it, but after that time I tried to run away, it was never the same. It felt like she needed me around for some purpose, but I could never figure out why. Hyaktu frowned as silence surrounded them once more. Sarala dropped her gaze, tears rolling quietly down her tan cheeks. I have a feeling that whatever she needed me for, she no longer needed me for it, and that's when she got rid of me. I don't know if she found something or someone else to replace me, but I have a feeling the task was completed some other way, without me. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Of course it's a good thing, Hyaktu said. If you are used for whatever she was planning, there's no telling where you might be right now. I know it sounds horrible, but I'm glad she dumped you in the middle of nowhere. You were better off alone than with her by the sound of it. And I'm very happy you found this school. Sarala shrugged, keeping her eyes on the floor. Mimita will not get you while you're here, Hyaktu insisted. And if she were ever to get a hold of you again, I'd get you back. I promise. Sarala took a shaky breath and covered her face with her hand as she nodded. Hyaktu watched her a moment longer, then turned and exited the room. The second he entered the courtyard, Ren was practically jumping on him. What did she say? Is she okay? The girl asked hastily. I think she'll be fine, but please give her a moment, Ren. Ren frowned. You asked her more about Mimita, didn't you? Did she— If Sarala wants to tell you, she will tell you on her own time, Hyaktu stated. Please don't bother her about it. If the two of you are still going to be dating, you need to be there for her, whether she tells you every little detail or not. Ren nodded seriously, glancing through the window of the healing room to Sarala still sitting on the bed. Can I bring her some breakfast? I think that's a great idea, Hyaktu said. Ren nodded several times more, then dashed to the eating hall, doors away. Hyaktu stared after her, not really seeing the courtyard in front of him as he fell into deep thought. What does it mean if Mimita is here, trying to get Sarala back? Is she actually working with Kaokat, or trying to accomplish her own goals? If she's with Kaokat, is it Sarala they've wanted this whole time, not Ren? How does Sarala fit into this? He sighed heavily. Then he heard the pounding of rain and pulled out his mirror with a frown. He answered the air call, his heart sinking.
Greetings.
The person on the mirror said abruptly.
Am I speaking to Mr. Aktu Saihan?
Yes, Hyaktu said curtly. The person kept a neutral expression as they replied.
I am calling from the Pan government.
Hyaktu nodded quietly.
We received a report about poisonous mushrooms being found in the school. You've already had one investigation of the school.
Hyaktu sighed inwardly. I never should have sent out that airmail about the mushrooms. I should have told the students not leave a record of proof. Yes, we had one investigation earlier this year, but there was clearly nothing wrong here, he said warily. The person frowned.
Are you denying the existence of these mushrooms?
No, Hyaktu said earnestly. There was one mushroom in the school, but that was all. My staff and I have been searching vigorously for more. We think it was a prank.
Our report says there are multiple mushrooms there,
they said. There is only one, Hyaktu replied firmly, narrowing his eyes.
Well, that will be determined soon. I'll be at the school shortly with more experts to conduct another search.
Hyaktu's heart sank further. I assure you, a search is not necessary. The one mushroom that was found has already been disposed of. As long as Fern didn't hold on to it.
And what about the sighting of a known criminal?
Hyaktu blinked. What? The agent smiled.
The criminal, known as a kidnapper and child abuser, who was seen outside your school.
Mimita? How on Seder did they find out about her? Is she that well known? Hyaktu wondered, frowning deeply. As he didn't reply right away, the government agent pressed on.
We'll be conducting a thorough search around the school as well. If we find anything suspicious, your school may be shut down.
Hyaktu scowled. I'm not responsible for a criminal outside. We've upped the security, and we are certain the criminal will not come in. The mushroom was a prank, and there aren't any others around. You can't shut us down for either of these. But if you happen to find the criminal, I hope your experts will take the criminal away. Besides, if there's a security issue here, shouldn't the government provide us with more security instead of shutting us down?
When you opened the school,
The person said, shuffling through some papers.
you denied any government assistance when it came to security, sending our personnel away because you insisted the school was private and had its own security force. You said you would take care of the security yourself, so you are not allowed any governmental assistance. If you have any security issues, you will be shut down.
Hyaktu glared at the person on the other side of the mirror. There won't be any issues, he said coldly. The agent frowned, looking momentarily startled. They quickly rearranged their face to a neutral expression as they said,
Then you should have nothing to worry about when we come.
They hung up the call, Hyaktu's mirror reflecting his own angry face and gleaming eyes. He pocketed the object with a growl of frustration. Then he closed his eyes and imagined Khurshid and Fern. We need to meet, right away. He sent the telepathic message to the teachers, hoping that they weren't out of range. Meet in the admin office. He turned on the balls of his feet and re-entered the healing room. After passing through the bed and cabinets silently, Sorella watching curiously, he opened the door that led to the admin hall and took a few more steps until he reached the office. He was only pacing the room for a few minutes before the two teachers showed up, Fern closing the door behind her. Did you find more with Mimita? Fern asked at once. Hyaktu shook his head. She wasn't anywhere outside the school, but there's another problem. The government is coming to investigate the school, and they could shut us down if there are any security issues. They heard about the mushrooms, and they somehow heard of Mimita, too. What's the plan? Have you found a way to destroy the mushrooms yet? Fern nodded. I think so. It's just a matter of getting out there when it's not snowing. Please get rid of them today, if possible, Hyaktu said. She nodded again.
And what if Mimita is spotted?
Khurshid queried.
Why would the government shut us down for that?
Because I denied having government assistance with security when I opened the school. Hyaktu sighed, leaning against the desk.
Why?
Because I don't trust the government, Hyaktu said simply.
And now they'll shut us down for your personal opinion?
Hyaktu sighed and began pacing again. I hope not. Nobody spoke for a long time. The only sound was that of Hyaktu's footsteps on the wooden floor. The room became stuffy, and he moved to crack open the window to let in the freezing air and a few snowflakes. Though the others shivered noticeably, they did not ask for the window to close.
Hyaktu,
Khurshid finally murmured.
Fern and I have been talking. We do not think you should be in charge.
Hyaktu whipped around, raising one side of his unibrow. What?
You're not handling these situations properly.
Khurshid went on.
Aster's been missing for months. Sure, we did not know that for certain until a while ago, when Ren had the vision, but you've done nothing about the situation since.
I've been trying to use spirit magic to locate him, but it hasn't worked, and the frog oils I sent out were destroyed. We can't go outside because Kaokat is waiting for us, Hyaktu pointed out.
Now there's the mushrooms and Mimita, both of which could get us shut down if nothing is done in time. What do you plan on doing when the government shows up and sees them both?
The mushrooms will be gone, Hyaktu said, glancing towards Fern. And Mimita will make sure she doesn't show up. I can put an illusion up, conceal her from sight if she does make an appearance. Khurshid sighed, his large nose pointed at the floor.
The government will know if you make an illusion. Hyaktu, this is exactly the problem. You're trying to cover things up. It's just like with Xenovis. They're non-magical, and you're trying to convince us otherwise so they can remain in classes. I'm sick of dealing with this matter.
They are magical, Hyaktu seethed, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. Realizing his temper was flaring, he took a deep breath and relaxed his hands. They did magic in the obstacle course. They put out Cherry's fires, and they managed to enchant the potion. They have magic, no matter how weak.
Hyaktu, why don't you transfer the school to me now?
Khurshid pressed.
I'll work alongside the government. They'll put in proper security and help us find Aster. Maybe they will even get hold of Kaokat and Mimita. Everything will be back to normal in no time.
But Hyaktu was shaking his head more and more as Khurshid went on. That's not what the government will do. Don't you understand?
No,
Khurshid growled.
I don't understand why you're being arrogant and stubborn. The government is here to help us. So why don't we request they help us?
No, Hyaktu said firmly, taking 2 steps forward to be closer to the desk dividing them. We're not working with the government.
Then you should leave,
Khurshid said disdainfully, his lip curling back as he glared blindly at the floor.
Otherwise, the school will be shut down when they come.
I'm not leaving. I will if the school is shut down after they come, but they haven't inspected anything yet, Hyaktu muttered. So until they do, I'm staying here. Are you really willing to risk these students' educations because you are too stubborn to ask for the government's assistance? Fern grumbled, placing a hand on her hip. Hyaktu blinked in surprise. Because that's what you're doing if you're just waiting for the government to shut us down, Fern went on. They won't shut us down, Hyaktu muttered. There won't be any security issues when they come. Even if they were to shut us down, there's no way they'd do it halfway through the year. I won't allow it to happen. I'll still get these students their proper certifications. Fern glanced at Khurshid and said nothing more. Her lips pursed. Hyaktu sighed heavily, wondering if the teachers were communicating telepathically. He waited a few moments before speaking again. I'm dealing with these situations as best as I can, he murmured. Can you two please just help me keep this place open when the government comes to visit? Fern looked back to him, then nodded once. Khurshid sighed, then muttered,
Fine.
Thank you, Hyaktu said, inclining his head. I promise I'll do everything I can to keep the school open. I'll deal with the mushrooms, Fern said curtly. She turned on her heel and exited the room. Khurshid paused for a moment, then trailed after her, closing the door behind him. Hyaktu sighed and sat down on the chair, his shoulders slumping. But he had barely been sitting for a few seconds when the sound of pouring rain came from his pocket, and he pulled out his mirror in exasperation. What now? Yet the annoyance vanished as he saw Jabali's image on the glass. He answered at once.
Yo, Hyaktu! I'm here!
Hyaktu squinted at Jabali's background and noted that he was in the forest outside the school. He could make out the blue trees through the lightly falling snow.
Them enchantments look strong,
Jabali went on.
Nice purple colors all around the perimeter of the school. Can't see how anyone unwelcome would be able to get in.
Hyaktu sighed. That's a relief, he uttered, moving to the door. I'll be there in a second to let you in. He hung up the call before Jabali could reply, walking rapidly down the hallway to the entrance hall. He unlocked a glass door, glad that he had been quick to replace the doors, and hoping that the government hadn't somehow found out about the shattering doors weeks prior. Jabali stepped in, brushing snowflakes off his thick blue robe and from his locks of hair. Jabali tossed the robe on Hyaktu's head, Hyaktu struggling under it for a moment before throwing it back at his friend to lock the door again. I'm glad you're here, Hyaktu said, reaching forward to hug him.
You summon me, I come. It's as simple as that,
said Jabali. When you say it like that, you're making it sound like I'm using you.
Well, you do, don't ya? Use me to CM enchantments and make some frog oils.
Hyaktu's heart sank and he pulled away. Jabali,
I'm sorry that you feel I'm using you. Now that you mention it, I really do feel like I'm using you. And I'm sorry. I really am.
Jabali snorted.
Oh, lighten up. I'd do anything for you, Hyaktu, you know that.
Hyaktu sighed.
But it's wrong of me to ask you for your services and give nothing in return. At least I'm able to pay my teachers. I know you don't want money, though. So what can I do for you?
Ya crazy?
Jabali smacked Hyaktu on the shoulder, nearly sending him off his feet.
You're too busy to repay me.
Regaining his balance and straightening up, Hyaktu shook his head.
No, I want to pay you back. What can I do for you, after all the times you've been helping me?
Nothing.
Jabali said, waving his hand again. Hyaktu narrowed his eyes, then smirked as he had an idea.
You, me, breakfast.
Jabali raised an eyebrow.
Did ya just ask me out on a date?
No, of course not.
Hyaktu grumbled, stiffening at the thought as his face felt warm to the touch.
Since it's breakfast time and you really like the cook's food here...
I'm just teasing,
Jabali said, whacking him on the back again. This time, Hyaktu fell to the floor, folding his arms quickly across his chest so he wouldn't break a wrist or elbow trying to catch his fall.
Whoops, sorry.
Jabali grabbed Hyaktu by the sash and pulled him back to his feet, then wiped him off.
Well, I guess that's one way to repay you,
huffed Hyaktu, blowing his banes out of his eyes with a puff of wind.
You can just knock me down all day.
Jabali's face lit up.
Oh, I'd love that.
Snorting, Hyaktu signaled for Jabali to follow him. Jabali put his robe back on, then trailed Hyaktu to the snowy courtyard. They turned immediately to the left to enter the eating hall, the scent of food hitting their noses at once.
You're in luck,
Hyaktu commented as they approached the counter on the right side of the room.
The cooks just put out the last of the food they've got this morning, and then they'll be gone for winter break.
There weren't any cooks in the eating hall, as there weren't any students who needed to be looked over. Only a few pans of food sat behind the counter. Tofu scramble, sweet potato pancakes, muffins, and bagels. Hyaktu grabbed a bagel and spooned some tofu scramble on it, while Jabali piled his own tray with each option. The two were about to sit down when the door suddenly opened. Hyaktu looked up, expecting Khurshid or Fern, but it was Wave who entered.
Jabali,
Wave called, hurrying to his boyfriend.
I thought I saw you.
Yo, Wave!
Jabali chuckled, handing his plate to Hyaktu and walking forward with his arms outstretched. They met halfway through the hall, embracing and kissing. Hyaktu lowered his eyes, waiting for them to break apart.
What you staring at the floor for?
Jabali chuckled, his arm around Wave's shoulders.
I don't like seeing people kiss,
Hyaktu stated.
Sorry?
Wave mumbled, looking awkward as he shifted his weight from one leg to the other.
Don't apologize.
Jabali huffed.
Hyaktu's just not into the idea of relationships. Hasn't been for years.
Wave stared at Hyaktu incredulously.
What? Who wouldn't want to be in a relationship?
Yes, hi, hello, I exist,
Hyaktu said blandly, stealing Zin's own line when they were questioned for not wanting a relationship.
You're insane.
Jabali grumbled, the smile no longer reaching his eyes as he gazed at Hyaktu. Hyaktu shrugged quietly. The three men stood in an awkward silence for several long moments, until Wave cleared his throat.
Hyaktu, I was wondering, since it's officially winter break and all students have gone home, can I go home with Jabali?
Sighing, Hyaktu shook his head.
The government's coming. I'm going to need all of my teachers here until they're gone, and I don't know how long they'll be here, or when they're coming. I'm sorry, Wave.
Wave looked disappointed, but nodded to Hyaktu's words. He then kissed Jabali on the cheek and quietly left, returning to the courtyard.
Really? You can't let him come home with me for a day or two?
Jabali huffed.
You're supposed to be paying me back, remember?
Hyaktu's shoulders slumped and he kept his eyes glued to the floor.
I'm sorry, Jabali, but as soon as the government leaves, I'll let him see you, I promise.
Jabali was quiet, then shrugged.
Whatever. I get it. So you got somewhere more private?
Hyaktu nodded.
Follow me.
He gave Jabali his plate back, then led the way to the courtyard. The snow was rolling around them in a frenzy, which would have been a little difficult to walk through if Hyaktu wasn't blowing the flakes away. They eventually made it to the Tai Chi studio, both men shivering as they shut the door behind them. "I'll get a fire going," Hyaktu murmured as he unlocked the tower door with one hand, still holding his frozen bagel sandwich with the other. He opened the door and led the way inside, the room empty. Jabali instantly plopped on the blue couch to the right. Hyaktu closed and locked the door, then walked over to the fireplace sitting in front of the couch. After handing his plate to Jabali, he crouched down and reached for a button on the floor of the fireplace. The metal mechanism next to it created a spark of fire. Though the spark only lasted 2 seconds, the flames quickly spread across the brittle branches placed above it. A warm orange glow soon filled the room. Hyaktu was just about to sit on the couch when Jabali sat next to him on the floor.
"This food is a little frozen now,"
Jabali commented, holding both plates up to the flames. Hyaktu snorted, shifting into a lotus position with his hands in his lap. As the food defrosted, he filled Jabali in on what was happening. Mimita, the government's call, Khurshid and Fern doubting his abilities to keep the school open.
"That sure is a lot going on."
Jabali commented, halfway through his food by the time Hyaktu finished speaking.
"So what's the plan?"
"Can you bring frog oils here in the next day or so?" Hyaktu asked. "I don't know when the government will be here, but if we can get some of the frog oils working or even on display, we can at least prove we have some security."
"I'll bring 'em tomorrow,"
Jabali promised. Hyaktu inclined his head.
"Thank you,"
he murmured.
"What else do you need? Fern's getting the mushrooms, right?"
"Yes."
"You sure?"
Hyaktu frowned.
"Why wouldn't she?"
"'Cause she and Khurshid might be the ones calling the gov to get this place shut down, so Khurshid can own the school."
Jabali stated simply.
"Them teachers have turned on you, Hyaktu. Can you really trust them to be on your side when the gov arrives?"
Hyaktu's heart skipped a beat and his mouth went dry. He lowered his eyes to his untouched food, which Jabali had placed in front of him, feeling sick.
"I just want you to be prepared for whatever might happen,"
Jabali said in a soft tone, reaching his hand out to Hyaktu's.
"I'm sure Fern will get rid of the mushrooms, though. She said she would, so..."
Hyaktu took a deep breath.
"Yeah, I hope so."
They sat silently for a few seconds, soaking in the warmth of the fire, sweat sliding down Hyaktu's brow. Jabali shook Hyaktu's hand until he opened his eyes. Hyaktu glanced up into his calm gaze, feeling slightly comforted.
"We'll get through this, okay?"
Jabali said softly. Hyaktu nodded quietly, flipping his hand over to squeeze Jabali's in response.
"So what are you gonna do after this year is up?"
"We still have a few months to go," Hyaktu pointed out. "Who knows what might happen?"
"Well, if the school shut down, you're transferring ownership to Khurshid, yeah?"
Hyaktu nodded, getting to his feet to untie his sash.
"If the school ain't shut down, what's your plan? Are you still gonna own the school for another year? Or are you gonna step down from owning it and keep teaching? Or are you gonna leave altogether but stay in the area for your kids to finish school there? Or are y'all gonna leave?"
Hyaktu folded the sash and put it on the couch, then pulled off his robe. He sat down on the corner of the sofa, trying to stay away from the blazing heat as he wiped sweat from his face. After a long moment, he mumbled,
"I don't know."
"If it were up to me, I'd just drop the school after this year's up and be done with it,"
Jabali said gruffly.
"But I don't want to give up on all these students," Hyaktu said.
"You're not. The school will remain open just under Khurshid,"
pointed out Jabali.
"True, but..."
Hyaktu sighed and rested his chin on his palm.
"I don't want to leave until I know Khurshid can run the advanced magic classes. Otherwise, the students won't be..."
"In good hands,"
Jabali offered.
Hyaktu shrugged, then said, "I also don't want to run away just because Kaokat and Mimita have discovered our location. I don't know what they want, but I don't want to flee. If anything, I'd like to talk to them to see what they want."
"The last time you tried talking to that crazy cat, they crashed the ship,"
Jabali huffed, crossing his arms with a scowl.
"You ain't gonna get much out of talking to them."
Hyaktu sighed.
"Maybe not, but I'd still like to try. Besides, it's not like Kaokat's really done anything this year, so there's no need to flee."
"Not yet."
Not wanting to argue the point, Hyaktu remained quiet and sat back on the couch, moving farther away from the hot fire. Jabali gazed up at him for a long moment, then grabbed his plate and sat down on the cushion beside him, taking off his robe too.
Well, if you ain't gonna stay on as a teacher next year, but you want your kiddos to finish school here, you're welcome to stay with me, and Zen, if they're removed from classes again.
Hyaktu stared into Jabali's sapphire eyes for a long moment, then reached out and grabbed his free hand, squeezing it tightly. "Thank you, Jabali," he whispered. "I can't tell you how much that means." Jabali nodded once, passing him the bagel, but Hyaktu shook his head, not even looking at the food.
Come on, Hyaktu, you gotta eat.
"I'm not hungry," Hyaktu grumbled.
It's not a date if you don't eat.
"It's not supposed to be a date?" Hyaktu mumbled, blinking in confusion.
Repayment date,
Jabali clarified.
It ain't gonna count as paying me back if you don't eat this breakfast too.
Sighing, Hyaktu reluctantly took the plate from his friend and stared down at the bagel. After a few seconds, he picked up the bagel and took a bite, the tofu scramble tasting of turmeric, onion, garlic, and prickle pepper.
There you go.
Encouraged Jabali.
No matter how stressed out you are, remember to eat and stay hydrated, and do your Qigong routine.
Hyaktu took another bite, not wanting to admit he had missed a few days of Qigong.
You need anything else from me? Or should I get home to finish up them frog oils for you?
Hyaktu nodded, swallowing rapidly before he spoke and nearly choking on a bagel seed. "Can you take my kids with you too, for winter break? Or at least until the government is gone?" Jabali grinned.
Sure thing. You and your kids are always welcome at my place. Anything else?
"No, that's all. Thank you, Jabali. You're a great friend,"
Yeah, whatever.
replied Jabali casually, standing up abruptly and walking to the door.
Where's your kids at?
"Probably the healing room, but I'll go with you and
Finish your food first.
Jabali said, waving as he unlocked the door and exited.
You can't let this school take you down.
"I'll do my best," Hyaktu murmured, glancing back at his half-eaten bagel with a knot in his stomach. "I can handle this. I have to." He took a deep breath. "I managed to raise the twins alone. I managed to survive the fight with Kaokat. I can handle the government. Can't I?" Hyaktu bit into the bagel again, not even tasting the scramble as he chewed the soft sustenance. "I can do this."